So I've listened to over 100 budget earphones, and I'm going to share with you guys which ones to get under $100 in 2024, sales included. Starting with the most detailed and resolving earphones, here we're looking for a clean low-end transition to the mids with solid extension in the upper mids and treble as well, and ideally good drivers on top. IEMs like the RDT10, the F1 Pro, the Confine Clear, and the P1 Max all have great resolution for its price, especially if you like more treble detail. These will do the job as they're all like planars, which are usually better in the attack and the decay. Any of these will work, just find the one that's the cheapest on sale. They sound very similar with one another, and again the resolution and the detail are all very similar on all of them. But for non-planar sets, we have the SIMGOT EA500LM and the EM6L. Both are resolution monsters for their price, especially the LM. It's very clear in the notes and sharp in its imaging, but it can get a bit too bright depending on your unit. My unit isn't that bright, but there are some units out there that can be a little bit too bright, so just a heads up if you are looking for the EA500LM. The EM6L on the other hand is on average a smoother version of the LM. The units graph are not as bright, or like deviations are not as much as the LM, and just on average is more consistent with better layering, and at the cost of being a little bit more expensive. But you can still get the EM6L on sale for like around $100, where the LM usually comes in at around 70 to 80 depending if it's on sale or not. But in terms of like overall tonality, balance, and being the most like welcoming and I guess all-rounded, we have the Tangzu HVB Xuanyu, which is basically Harman 2019, which is a very good target if you want an IEM that does everything decently well. These especially are good for pop, J-pop, K-pop, EDM, as the upper mids cut does wonders in taming the excess energy that tends to get like over boosted from those genres. Some also call the Tangzu a mini Nova, but overall the sound is very harmonious with no like frequency sticking out from one the other. No like quote unquote special sauce either, because it doesn't really specialize in like one frequency. But the XN has a smooth and clean playback, and it's made for those who have a lot of like different genres in the library, or like if you just hit shuffle all the time. However, if you have a specific library like rock or hip hop, or you want something that's like warm and bassy that highlights the bass and adds more like kick to the drums, the sub bass, the bass guitars, and just overall a more powerful and warmer sound, then my recommendation for that would be the 7Hz Legato or the Kiwi Ears Quartet on sale. If you want a more forward and heavier bass presentation, more in your face, then that would be the Quartet. The bass blooms out more and colors the other frequencies more, giving you that like warmer, bassier feeling. Whereas if you wanted something snappier and tighter in the attack and the decay, it's still punchy, but it's just like less warm, but still very rumbly and textured in the low end, then that would be the Legato. The Legato is like a good introduction to the bass head tuning, the bass head sound, a lot of bass, and the Quartet is just like a warm, bassy sound signature. And for those who just want a crap ton of bass without caring about like the other frequencies, we have the KB Rosfinch with that like fat bass shelf, and the HBB Hades, which basically ignores the upper mids and treble and only gives you bass. The main difference between them is that the Hades scales better as you can crank them up more. It's not sharp with the increase in volume because it has no extension, right? It's literally just like bass in your face, whereas the Rosfinch still scales decently well, but just not as overwhelming in the low end. It's still bassy, but just not as bassy as the Hades. Now on the opposite end of the spectrum, you wanted something like neutral, flat, clean with great separation, then we have the Zigot Chino, which is basically just a straight line at this point. This is as neutral and flat as you can get under $100, and the Chinos works very well with like instruments and classical music. Because it's so flat, the staging feels more open and pushed back, which allows more room to pick out the individual elements better. And on top of that, it's also got the drivers to back it up, since it is a 1+4 hybrid, so good technicalities as well. But the only downside is that if you really like vocals, the Chinos does take a hit in that area, because well, they're just like no gain in the upper mids area. So if you're looking for the best vocals, we have the Afua Magic 1 if you want something thicker, huskier, and warmer, better for male vocals, and the EPZ Star 1, which is more open, extended, lighter, and has more air and detail in the end notes, but with still good no weight that's better for female vocals. But if you're looking for something that does both male and female vocals well, but doesn't necessarily specialize in male or female vocals, then we have the Tangzu HVB Xuanyu, which has that traditional Harman vocal gain and is the better all-rounder vocal wise. On the other hand, if you like a more energetic, exciting, or V-shaped sounding IEM, then you're looking at something like a Kiwi Ears Melody, since it doesn't get any more V-shaped than a little V, right? The low end slams very nice, the texture is good and doesn't feel as light as the other planars, and the treble is also very sparkly and lively, giving you that fun and engaging sound without becoming overly sharp. The melody also has great detail and resolution as well because it is a planar, so like overall it's a very well tuned V-shape, but of course I wouldn't blast these obviously. They don't scale well just like every other V-shape. It gets sharp at higher volumes, but they are great for mid-volume listening, and you know, it's just a super fun listening experience. And then lastly, for the best value IEMs under $100, we have a tie between the SIMGOT EA500LM and the RD-T10. Now strictly speaking, in terms of resolution and detail, it doesn't get more value than the T10s, since you can find these on sale for as low as $50, which is kind of bonkers given that it performs close to more expensive sets like the Dusk and ties with the Nova, which is already like a value beast in itself. So needless to say, if resolution is what you're looking for, then the T10s or any of the planars are pretty great. Just find the cheapest one on sale and get those. The LM on the other hand is just as good in the resolution, but compared to the planars, it has a better low end. The bass texture is better, it's a little bit heavier in the slam, and the timbre overall is just more natural and doesn't have that like planar light sizzle timbre to it. I think the LM is going to be one of the best value IEMs of 2024, and so far it still is. And of course there are some unit variants with like a brighter treble, so depending on that you might want to be careful. However, if you can stretch your budget to around $150, then a lot more options open up. For example, the Super Mix 4 is currently the best like value wise at $150. It's more resolving and smoother than the Chopin and the Nova, and it's basically a direct upgrade over the Tongzhou Xuanyu with better extension in both the upper mids and triple, and just an overall bump in separation, technicalities. The Super Mix 4 punches well above its weight and competes with other $300, $400 IEMs like the Dust, the Hype 4. Go check out my audiophile versus non-audiophile reaction video to that. But overall, if you're looking for an all-rounder, the SM4 is endgame for most people in that regards. I will stop right here. Then you also have the Shozi P20, which is currently my favorite planar, and it's like a treble head slash warm set because of like sparkly and airy treble while having a warm atmosphere that balances things out and gives you that like warm and sparkly special sauce. And lastly, you have my favorite tuned IEM under $200, the CK-LVX or the Pull Up PA2. Basically they're the same thing, you know, just different shells. It's a better tuned Dusk in my opinion. It's fuller, it's more airy and nuanced in the final parts of the vocals. If you look at the graph, they graph very similar, the Dusk and the CK-LVX. It's just not as resolving and, you know, are not as detailed as the Ducks, but the sound isn't as generic as a result, and also has that special sauce like the P20, but instead of being like warm, sparkly and lively like the P20, the CK-LVX is more like clean, smooth and airy, painting you that dreamy feeling to the music. So all in all, a lot of options if you're willing to go up to $150, but either way, the IEMs under $100 are still fantastic value, great picks. You know, that's why they made the list, right? And if an IEM you're interested in isn't mentioned in the video, then most likely it didn't make the cut. Simple as that. But yeah, I mean, I hope this list was helpful. I hope the comparisons was helpful. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see everyone in the next one. Shout out to Jeff Young, RoarXCat, Dom Q, Star Buccaneers, Joel Pink, Discall Scaldus, B_Urac, Mystic Spoon Attack, Oh Really, Walker Standard, User, Ernest, Contain Guava Juice Gain, Patrick, Belcel Kel, Rodar the Calf, Perijat, Polly, Mr. Gorillas, Antoristo, Gis Sang Young, Tomat Pafrache, Ed, Harry, Christopher Federico, Name, Henry, and Son of a Horse. Thank you guys so much.